Recording.
Okay, we are definitely recording the audio this time.
Yes, we've got actual audio. What audio anomalies will we have this week?
We've got coffees. I've got to get my phone.
Okay. This is the part of the episode where Sam leaves the room, and I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to drink my coffee.
You weren't talking about me while I left, were you?
No. Don't tell him what we said.
I got a phone because someone has... Mark, who signed up to our Patreon.
Oh, right, yeah.
Mark.
Mark.
He's left a message and I just want to check it out.
Is it the Mark who sold me the thing? That's the question. And if you sent us a message, I would assume that would be the case.
Why has my phone forgotten the login details? I mean, come on. Give me a break.
If he doesn't mention it, it's a different Mark, and we don't need to go on.
Post, community... Diplomatic community. Please, kind sirs, I bow in your presence. Oh, finally someone gets it. Would you review Colonel Bruce Hampton and the Aquarium Rescue Unit?
These bands that sound like they don't exist and they do.
Their first album would be great. I'll purchase for you if that helps. It seems you don't really spend much time on some of the most original music. American music has changed all of pop.
It's quite original, the stuff we review. I mean, it's... Isn't it?
Well, it was original in the 70s.
Yeah, a long time ago, but...
Occasionally we do something like Priapisme or something like that.
Yeah. Well, it takes a little bit more effort to find things. That's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
And as I said in the Nurse with Wind review, I mean, I can find a band that goes boo, but I want to find a band I like that goes boo is a different thing.
So you posted a mammoth video.
Yeah.
The weekend was 40 odd minutes.
45 minutes. It was an episode.
It was a proper episode. Well, how do you think that went?
I thought it was a good idea. I mean, we're second guessing what people want.
People are starting to tell us though.
Yeah.
In comments.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I would watch a YouTube video that long personally, but I think our thing is quite a different thing. It is more like I think the listening experience is more like a podcast.
Yeah.
So that was a podcast, in that people like to have it on when they're doing whatever, or
Mm-hmm.
But if our videos are only 5 minutes, it's kind of, just finishes, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, the way I watch things on YouTube, I tend to watch long videos.
Oh.
So, I mean, unless it's 15 minutes or 20 minutes long, I won't watch it. I like to have, I suppose I use YouTube a bit like a podcast as well.
Mm.
So I like to have at least an hour. I can put something on and listen to as I'm doing stuff. Yeah, I thought it was all right. I mean, I actually surprised people got to the end, because a lot of people, because it wasn't until the end.
Yeah.
He said, tell us what we should do for Patreon and stuff like that.
A lot of people said, yeah.
And people were saying, so they obviously got to the end. Which I thought
but you noticed, people got to the end. Nobody mentioned what was actually at the end. There was nothing.
The box monster.
Whenever we do the really crazy stuff, there's just no comment.
The box monster was all right.
Yeah. Took some clever editing, because obviously the audio was full of us laughing.
You're off now, aren't you, Kev? You finished officially?
I've got 3 more days of work and then I'm on holiday.
How long are you on holiday for?
Oh, it's infinity time. Infinite. Forever.
So releases will be on time and on the ball.
Yeah.
And everything will be super funky.
And I won't be preparing for the videos an hour before all the videos.
Yeah. It's weird, isn't it, work?
Yeah.
It does do you.
But I've now got... we're only going away a little bit. We've got a lot of time where we're just at home to do whatever we want to do. And I will be, in the mornings, going to a cafe and thinking actually about this channel and writing stuff for this channel. So that's good. And actually, we can finally do our Live in Vienna video, King Crimson, which has been out for months, years. We've still done it. Sorry.
Yeah, we'll do that.
And there's a funky experiment with that as well, which is we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, cool. We need chat because we.
Yes, we do need chat. Football. Talk about football. Go.
Okay. Yeah. So, our foreign viewers might not know this, and then again, they might. The UK has gone football mad.
I think they do know that. You know about this thing about these kids being trapped in a cave.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know where we go with that, but yeah, we know that's happening and it's awful. But apparently, the kids are asking about the football, asking about the World Cup.
Well, if you ever do any sort of stuff that's trending on Google, if you're looking at sort of the top 20 are always football related in the UK.
Even Facebook is basically everyone's posting different memes of "It's coming home."
It's coming home.
There was a bit of Guardians of the Galaxy in the intro, so watch that. Yeah, you press play on the tape recorder. Bloody 3 lines, isn't it?
I mean, I get back in the politics swing of things now. I think Theresa May is crossing her fingers that England win the World Cup. That will be the bailout that she needs.
That's what she needs.
This utter mess of Brexit.
Okay, is this intentional? Is the football fever? It would have been there anyway, but has it been raised by the media deliberately to smooth over incompetence happening in the government?
I don't think so. See, it's a difficult one for me because Chomsky used to always go on about how sports
is designed to distract us. I think that's true generally. It doesn't necessarily mean for this thing particularly, although it is all the time anyway. It's kind of a different argument, isn't it?
Yeah. The difference now is that actually we're going through an area where people are more politically engaged. So there is a proliferation of politics podcasts going on.
That's true.
And that's because people are listening to them.
That's true.
Yeah. And there's all sorts of politics programs going on.
Yeah.
And presumably that's a good thing. Although it does make for some quite horrific social media battles.
Yeah, I mean, our complaint would be, it's really sort of everything's one-dimensional and polarised. But that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's like complaining, millions of people are listening to music now and it's crap.
Maybe people should start watching football again instead.
Let's go away and watch football. Leave me alone. Only we can talk about politics.
I mean, it could, the nationalists are obviously quite wound up about things, and maybe England winning the World Cup could exorcise those tensions for them a little bit.
That's how one-dimensional they are.
And maybe we would suddenly not be a racist country again.
Well, we're not. There's a minority of nutters. And saying nationalists, I mean, the problem is what that means. And, there's something very, very harmless and good about what that word means. That's not what we mean. We mean the shouty, angry people who are annoyed that the nerds that they went to school with are now doing better than they are. Ha ha ha. Laughing in your face, etc.
Yeah, I get quite annoyed that they're not nerds, though, are they, that are doing well?
No, I made it up. That's funny.
There was a thing, I didn't know it was real. David Cameron had broke cover.
And who? I know.
To support Boris Johnson in not signing up to May's Brexit deal. I mean, what the hell?
There's no point going because it's just there's been so many that
I mean, politics has become beyond parody now.
That's so far beyond now. Yeah.
It's on.
Well, do you remember we got pretty far in writing what was actually not a politics sitcom, but it had politicians in it.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the idea. It wasn't politics because it was just going to be silly. It's gone far beyond what we wrote, so it's now defunct.
You can't. It's become impossible to satirize in any meaningful way.
Yeah, and we've got the Trump, inflatable Trump, coming to town
next week,
and there's also a big balloon of Trump going to be there when the inflatable Trump does come to town. The fury! How dare they have an inflatable Trump? Oh no! What is wrong with you? Who cares? You had, what about spitting image? You had Ronald Reagan in a clown suit, and he had 2 buttons, didn't he? One to call the nurse and one to launch the missiles. That was the satire against Ronald Reagan was much more, because you can't satirise Trump because he's already like that anyway.
I think it's.
And yet, no, you're not supposed to. Oh, this is an insult. An insult to the president. Don't question his authority, because we should be like North Korea. And we've actually reached the stage now where they actually agree. Yes, we should be like North Korea. More authoritarian. He's the boss, so we should just do what he says. Don't question. I
listened to one of the many politics podcasts out there this week called News Roast. Have you ever heard of it?
No.
It's all right. Actually, I don't realise it at the time. When I'm listening to it, I think it's kind of average. But it's actually influenced me quite a lot in terms of they've had people on and I've actually gone and researched them.
I understand.
It's mad. And they had Rose McGowan on the last one, who's sort of like an actress who grew up in a cult, and apparently she's written a book saying that, and in it she says Hollywood is basically a cult. Yeah.
Well, we know that. Yeah.
Well,
it is a weird cult. It is. Scientology is kind of a bit. It's sort of a bit in there, but Hollywood itself is kind of its own Scientology.
Well, she was on about the structures and everything. It is very cult-like.
Yeah.
And we look at North Korea, and that's a cult basically.
Yeah.
But actually, North America, some of the people who are so they believe such fundamentally stupid things and have strident opinions on things that are nonsense and inconsequential.
Yeah.
North America is essentially a cult. They pledge allegiance to the flag every morning in schools. So it's drummed into you from an early age that you are part of this cult and you have to bow to the flag and stuff like that.
That's not the same as being proud to be part of a country. It's not the same thing.
No.
That is weird. But when you actually talk to actual Americans, they're not like that at all. Most of them. It is a minority of nutters of gained control of the asylum. It's that kind of thing, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
Through circumstance and incompetence.
Yeah. I was listening to a guy on one of the. So there's a prolific. We say we're in a more politically engaged thing. It used to be that you have like these right-wing radio calling shows.
Yeah. The Rush Limbaugh.
And the Rush Limbaugh type thing. They have lots of left-wing talk shows on YouTube.
Yeah.
So you have like what's his name, Kyle Kalinske, the Young Turks. Who's the offshoot of that? Jimmy Dore, Sam Cedar. And it's just endless stuff of people just talking at the camera.
Yes.
And playing clips.
And say, isn't this ridiculous?
And it must generate...
Yes, it is ridiculous. I'm angry.
It must generate millions of minutes of views. And it's just someone playing a clip from another show.
Yeah, which is probably a clip from another show.
And complaining about it. Anyway. Yeah, there was a calling on one of these shows from a guy who was defending the separation of kids at the borders. Saying that... basically, he justified it on not slavery grounds. What they call it? So they couldn't, because the people who turned up at the border were undocumented. You couldn't prove that these people were the parents of these kids.
Therefore, they aren't.
Yeah.
Therefore
okay. you have to treat them as if they aren't.
Yeah.
Until you can prove it. It's sort of like, oh god.
So because they might not be,
it's sort of
they
like
definitely aren't.
How can you look at that situation and be so callous?
Well, yeah, I mean that you can see what's happened there is that they can't, but they've achieved mental gymnastics and failed maths.
Well, I think
to get there. I mean, it's just completely broken. There's no logic in that at all.
I think it's a bit different to that. As you remember, a few years ago, there was a picture in the newspaper of a kid who washed up on the beach, trying to escape the conflict in Syria, and they thought, okay, this is the moment where things are going to change.
Yeah.
Has it changed?
No.
It didn't change a bloody thing, did it?
No. And yet for one day, all the newspapers changed
Yeah.
and said, look, isn't this awful, these poor people? Next day, swarms of lazy freeloaders, blah. Grim.
It is quite grim, really, when you think about it.
Yeah, I try not to.
Yeah.
You know. But the thing, I mean, I do satire, I don't really do politics. It's satire I like. Except for the Today programme, I listen to the Today programme.
I don't
I
know.
really like the Today programme. I think it's actually really good. It's as news programmes go, you can't listen. You need half an hour, more than half an hour. Obviously, it just starts to go round and round. But yeah, I mean, they're all very down to earth. And if something is ridiculous, they will say, "Well, this is ridiculous."
I mean, I disagree a little bit. I think that there's a tendency on interviews, particularly political interviews. The sole aim of the interview is to make the person you're interviewing look stupid.
Yes.
Which doesn't shed any light on the information.
It's
it only stokes up the heat, if you know what I mean. And you talk about mental gymnastics. You compare that with the mental gymnastics of an interviewer who calls themselves a journalist.
Yeah, to
try and frame a question in such a way that it's really controversial.
Yeah. Either way, it's yeah.
I think it's not doing debate in the country any good, because people listen. You know, if an interviewer asks a question, something that's on your mind, or your criticism with the way someone is, and the person gets asked and they get grilled for it, that's a sort of like, okay, that's dealt with sort of thing. They have sort of had to deal with the issue that's in my head.
Yeah.
But the way they frame questions, no one could possibly be thinking along those lines.
Yes.
It is all about framing.
That's what you're thinking, isn't it?
Yeah.
No. Yes, you are. No, I'm not. But blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, you're right. I mean, and that's why the BBC is so important, and why they're not doing their job.
No, not at the moment.
Yeah, and you've got zealots either saying that they're extremely biased in one direction or the other.
And then you get people from the BBC saying, well, the myth of the middle ground, that means we're doing our job. Well, that's not true, is it?
No.
It's a sort of a typical logical fallacy.
Well, if you pursue the truth, some people will be very upset and will say, bias, BBC bias.
Yeah, but BBC don't. That's the point. They don't pursue the truth.
No, they don't. No.
If they pursued the truth, it wouldn't be
in trouble.
Yeah, be an issue. It's a sort of it's pursuing an agenda.
Yeah. Well, they did pursue the truth with Dr. David Kelly and Blair and all that stuff, and look what happened. Yeah, they've turned in. Maybe they are slowly turning into. Maybe it's a process that's still happening. They're turning into a mouthpiece for the government, government-controlled TV, which I'm sure it wasn't like that. I know in the young ones there's a radio broadcast where it says, and this is BBC broadcasting on behalf of the Conservative Party. That was like 1981.
I mean, that does.
But those lefties at the BBC and equally...
So everyone reads The Guardian at the BBC. You can't move for copies of The Guardian, apparently, at the BBC.
Yeah. And also, they're so right-wing, it's awful. At the same time.
Anyway, you noticed how our conversations become very heavy.
Well, that wasn't really, was it? I mean, it was a serious subject, but obviously in a silly way.
Yeah. I think it's... Since I've come back from holiday...
You've got serious.
No, I haven't.
A serious man now.
It's sleep, man.
You're approaching 40.
I haven't been able to get a proper night's sleep since then.
Oh, see.
I've always had something to do. I've had to get up. I've got work, or I've got Sarah's going to work, and I've got to get up to get her ready, or
you know. Sleep? I've not really slept for a week.
No, the heat's not helping. It's just been the way things have fallen, really. And this morning, flipping it. So I've got a phone in my office to answer calls for the business. And last night I was working downstairs because the light was coming. I couldn't see the screens very well, so I took my laptop downstairs and remote desktoped into my computer. I was working on there, and then last night when I finished, I thought, okay, I'll shut my computer down. So I shut it downstairs. From about 7:30 this morning, someone was ringing, And normally I stick it on Do Not Disturb, so it goes off. But
Yeah.
because I wasn't in the office, I didn't do that. And they kept ringing over and over. They weren't happy that they weren't getting an answer at 7:30 in the morning. So they just kept ringing, man. And I was getting...
Come on, wake up. Come on, I'm important.
This was my first day that I was actually going to get a proper bit of catch up on sleep, and that just kept going off. So the phone almost went out the
You just
window.
answer the phone and go, fuck off, fuck off, fuck off. And throw the phone out the window and then go back to bed.
Yeah, it
No,
nearly
because you'll
happened.
be sleeping after you're screaming, fuck off.
So I woke up tired again. Never mind. So yeah, I think that's why I'm serious at the moment.
It's very serious. It's a very serious business.
Yeah. Sleep deprivation makes you very serious.
Well, that's because that's why we review music. Because it's a serious business. Let's get serious.
Yeah.
Serious music for serious individuals who are mature
Yeah.
and take themselves very seriously for serious purposes.
Yeah. Maybe we should review some music.
Yeah, let's do that. Go. Da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da.
Kev, I've just realised something.
Go.
Didn't take a picture of the album.
Oh, do that. Oh, coffee's still there. You got some coffee left?
No. Da-da-da-da.
Take two.
We're back on Jethro Tull.
Yeah. We're going back. We've returned to a band. Isn't this the first time we've done it? I think we've talked about it before. Have we ever actually done it? Return to band.
Well, only for the Patreon Genesis stuff.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. And if a band releases an album, we've done it as well, like Stephen Wilson, the band.
Mm-hmm.
And this is Jethro Tull, and the iPad is booting up.
So which Jethro Tull album is it?
Songs from the Wood. Yes, that's right. We're doing the folk trilogy, one of which we've already done. If you do watch our review of that, it's one of our worst reviews. Only the Led Zeppelin 4 review I think is probably worse. Or then there's the review of Crime of the Century. We hadn't really listened to the album for that one. We were really winging it. It was very hard. I'd just come back from being on holiday and the plane was delayed and stuff. I think those are our 3 worst reviews we've done, I think. Let us know. Genuinely. we won't, mind the criticism. Don't worry about that. It's quite entertaining. What's our worst reviews? What are the worst ones? It's probably the Led Zeppelin ones generally, but I think Led Zeppelin 4 was so bad. So embarrassing. The only good bit was the hats. People would think that was the bit we were embarrassed about, but I'm good with the hats. Don't watch it though. The problem is no one's going to watch it. So yeah, Songs from the Wood. Anderson went to live in the country. Not that Anderson. Okay, he already lives in the country in his head. He doesn't need to go to the country. This Anderson is a very different character. And legend has it, that he rejected the city culture. He'd had enough. Sacked the manager. Went to write folk music in the country, and the music changed. It was different now. He went acoustic in Jethro Tull, and obviously that's not. Well, the way I put it then, it's not true at all, is it? It's not quite true. He calls it the whole folk trilogy is folky window dressing in a prog rock shop front. I'll say that again. Folky window dressing in a prog rock shop front.
Say that 3 times.
Folky window dressing in a prog rock. Folky window dressing in a prog rock shop front.
You can see
Folky window dressing in a prog rock shop front.
There we go.
There. And I agree with that. There was already folk there, wasn't there? Surely. And it's not. I mean, Ian Anderson says it's not like the Fairport Convention and all that, where it's quite authentic folk. No, it wasn't that. Never was that. Never will be. What's happened is the probably almost complete removal of the straightforward rock bit. So what was ubiquitous on Aqualung, is almost completely gone, and you replace that with Gentle Giant's compositional style. It's little bits of melodies and time changes, rather than it's not riffs, it's motifs So it's got, in the sense, a classical concept, but it's actually very rhythmic. So it's like some jazz, I suppose. It's not jazz. It's not like it's conceptually that's the kind of jazzy thing. So some people might call it Jethro Tull meets Gentle Giant, but they call it the folk trilogy. But that's more to do with the clothes he was wearing and where he was living. So but it is one of their best albums, I think. We're talking a bit about why that happened. I think it's very good.
Do you know what I've got going in my head now?
There you bring you songs from the wood.
Sitting on the park bench.
Oh, sorry. That's mine.
You did that. I mean, the folky side of it is, it's more like, it's not Jethro Tull doing folk songs. It's Jethro Tull incorporating folk into their music.
Okay, so
which doesn't sound so revolutionary to me, because I always thought, well, they're a bit folky anyway because they've got a flute in there.
Isn't it already there?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, it was already there. Oh, that is acoustic now.
Yeah.
What?
And I was a bit worried when it starts because.
I did wonder about that because it's light and happy and stuff. It's actually I think it's fantastic.
Well, actually, when it kicks in. It's all you go, okay, yeah, I get it. Jethro Tull, awesome, yeah, great stuff. There seems to have things about old men, doesn't he? I mean, that's the old man of the wood, and Aqualung was like the old man of the town, sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, there's a very, very early promotional picture for this was the first album where there was some sort of weird effect on their faces to make them look old. So there's a thing there, but. Of course, the band is called Jethro Tull. This is so strange because the band is called Jethro Tull. It's just completely random. It was just what they were called that week, so they'd still get booked. They didn't even, there was the manager who suggested it, and then they end up in this position where he goes out into the country and becomes a farmer. And he was
self-fulfilling prophecy.
Salmon fishing farmer of the year 1999 or something like that. And that's strange. I kind of thought I'll do that because the band's called Jethro Tull.
Yeah, but these things sort of have a way of coming to fruition, don't they? Subliminally or something like that. I mean, I knew it was a big deal when I searched for it, and the Steve Wilson stereo mix popped up. He's
I've not got.
Which, he only does the good ones, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And it's pretty good, I mean, I'm not a big fan of folk.
Well, that's the thing, is that you're not a folky person. You don't identify as being a folky person, but you really like Jethro Tull. Yeah. And you were converted to Jethro Tull like you were with Genesis.
But I'll say I'm not a fan of folk. I mean, there is folk music. I mean, I would consider Simon & Garfunkel folk. Yeah. That's obviously American folk.
Yeah, which is different thing. Yeah.
But I mean, that is sort of top notch. It's like it has to be top drawer stuff. So like, I don't know, Scarborough Fair or whatever. Mind you, that's just them again, isn't it? Anyway, so
the sound of silence. The metal version. It's such a good song. It still works, but still, it's quite funny. It used to be so gentle.
So the question is, am I gonna, not like this as much because it's folk? I remember I wasn't taken with Heavy Horses at all, was I?
Yeah,
which is part of the trilogy.
It might have been because it was the fourth album.
And it also
because we'd done 4 albums, and that was the fourth one. That could be that. We'll find out next week.
I've gone on a bit of a journey with Jethro Tull. Ooh. I wasn't into them at all to start with, and then Minstrel in the Gallery, wasn't it?
It's Minstrel, isn't it? Yeah.
I still bloody love that, and I'm listening to Aqualung a lot more now as well. And Thick as a Brick. Weird.
Snot down his nose. Johnny Rotten was a big fan of that album. And that's why, isn't it? The snot running down his nose.
And this is it is good, but it's not as good as those albums, in my mind.
I wonder, is there particularly? I mean, Thick as a Brick, really, for 2 20-minute pieces of music, is incredibly immediate.
Yeah.
You like it straight away. It's awesome. I don't think these ones have that immediacy.
No.
They need a bit more time because they're more complicated, I think.
And also, I think there's less immediate. You did the Aqualung riff, sitting on the park bench. I mean, that just sits in your brain, doesn't it? And now you've said that, it's going to be there. all day.
Yeah.
And this doesn't have that. And that might be the straight rock bits.
Oh yeah. Exactly. Yeah, that's why it's
Yeah.
And Gentle Giant does have that. You pick up a little motif and it's there in your brain forever.
Yeah. Yeah, great stuff. So yeah, good album. Very difficult to say much interesting about it, other than it's not folk.
He's right.
Yeah,
it's not any more or less folk than it was before. It's just more proggy, actually.
Yeah.
Ironically,
they just try to incorporate folk into the sound.
It's into the vibe.
Yeah.
Not the actual music.
Yeah. I mean, there always was that kind of British pastoral. I don't know if that's the right word, but
yeah, he must have just picked up on it and thought, oh yeah, that's what they sound like.
Yeah.
And that's the thing you talk about with this album is the change, and we're saying, well, it's not a different style of music to Minstrel.
No.
But actually, the album in between, I think, is different. That's really, really rock. Very little what I would call folkiness, or even progginess. There's a bit, maybe the title track and was it Salamander? It's got funny tunings and things. That's another story. But I'm not okay with that album. And I wonder if part of the change. Remember, he sacked the manager as well. Remember, the albums have stopped selling by this point. I think Minstrel was the last big selling one, or maybe the one before that.
Well, weren't all the prog bands sort of converging and sort of getting less proggy now? What were Yes doing at this point?
This is still in the midst of craziness. I think even Patrick Moraz is still in the band at this point, or just about to leave. I think he's getting sacked as we speak.
Or is this sort of like Relayer?
After a period after Relay, I think.
Okay.
Well, actually, this is 77, isn't it? So yeah, it's the same year as Going for the One. I was going to say Awaken. That's what I call it. So Return of Wayman and all that. So yes, having a surprise little extra good album at that point. So things are still good. In 77, people think all these bands are still good.
Right.
You've got Works. AOP. So people are thinking it's just so big now. It's not actually as good as the previous stuff, but it's big. It's so big, it's still good. So they haven't realised, it's only a year to go, and you've got Love Beach, Tormato, even Genesis, and then there were 3. It's all right, So yeah, something went wrong, and then you've got bloody Civilian, and was it Civilian we reviewed, or Giant for the Day? Yeah, Giant for a Day was the one we reviewed, wasn't it? Yeah. There's that as well, isn't it? So
yeah. we're on the road to ruin.
Yeah, Ian Anderson says, "Well, this wasn't the best. To go all folky and stuff in the midst of punk is ridiculous." But actually,
that's truly revolutionary, my friend.
Very astute. He's not thinking, "Oh, well, I better be like all these pop bands now." He's thinking, "Well, forget if it's not going to work. If he's not going to sell billions of albums." Might as well just do that and make the albums he wants to make. He doesn't have to do rock and have a codpiece and all this business, And I wonder if that's a thing. I mean, we don't know. He might have really liked Too Old to Rock and Roll at the time. He doesn't now. He certainly says that he's not a big fan of that album. There was 2 failed attempts at big movie theatrical things. War Child was originally like a film. And Too Old to Rock and Roll as well was something, maybe a theatre thing, or there was some sort of theatrical thing going on with it, and it didn't happen, it was just an album. So I wonder if that played a part. Well, if that's not going to happen, what's the point? Might as well do this, just pure music. And the moving into the country thing, he was the last member of the band to move into the country, actually. But he does say it brought him stability. Now, that's what basically. So stability, able to make better music. Basically, I don't believe that this sort of romantic notion of through danger and difficulty they brought the best music. I don't think that's true. As long as you're not too happy, and you can't be bothered. But that's more about not being bothered. If you've really still got the drive and you've not got difficulties, you're going to make better music. The idea that conflict, or when the band hated each other, they would make the best music. Just isn't true. You know, you look through all these bands, and when they hated each other, the music sucked. You know. Well,
apart from Pink Floyd.
Yes, but then there were Pink Floyd are an enigma, etc. But they were band albums. You know,
yeah.
When they were we don't really know how well they got on Metal. Metal is a band. The Wall isn't a band. You know, it even had Rick Wright's style removed from the final album because he's not in the band, and they kept it secret. Did you find what you were looking for?
Yeah, it was Solstice.
Solstice.
Ring Out Solstice Bells.
Oh, Ring Out Solstice Bells. Yeah.
I was saying, didn't we review that on a Christmas special or something?
No. This is the thing. That's the best Christmas song, and I've tremendously enjoyed this morning. 35 degrees centigrade. Windows open, annoying the neighbours, playing Ring Out Solstice Bells this morning. You can play any time of year because it's bloody good. You can't really play Wish It Could Be Christmas unless it's Christmas.
I'll tell you what this weather reminds me of. When we were doing the Pink Floyd reviews, some of them were in this sort of heat, and it's really hot, and because we did it over such a period, it's like we're back into winter now.
Yeah, and it goes down. And then it goes on again. And a t-shirt and then shirt. So yeah, Jeffrey Hammond is gone. He was on what is technically our previous review, which is Minstrel. Replaced by John Glascock, who is considered very important in terms of mojo. He didn't last long, sadly, and that might play a part in it, but apparently Richie Blackmore was saying he's like the best in the business at bass, so that's got to mean something. I mean, I'm not aware of. It's just Jethro Tull, isn't it? I mean, he's not even on one song because Jack in the Green is 100% Ian Anderson. He's the only one on it. And supposedly, allegedly, he wrote it in the morning and recorded it in the afternoon, and that was it. That's track 2 of the album on his own when the band were in lock on Sunday. There's no one there.
Well, I've heard him in the past say that one of the things he regrets that he couldn't read and write music, so getting his ideas across was quite difficult, and that was like one of the frustrations of making music. Obviously, if he's the only one on it,
I think he was very abrasive. I don't think it's reading between the lines. It's not like Roger Waters or something, but I sense there was a bit of that in that it's his band.
Yeah,
I've written this song. Play this. It's that famous. It's the Trogs, isn't it? None of them know how to play. The main guy who writes songs knows nothing about nothing. Like John Anderson, actually, and he's saying, "Okay, make it do this. Go da 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 da." No, go da 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 da. What the fuck are you playing? In fact, this rehearsal recording is better than anything the Trogs did. It's just awesome. And obviously here, the music they're making is much more elaborate than rock. And that's going to be getting more and more difficult. But also, the other change to the lineup is they've now got 2 keyboard players. You must think, bloody hell, why have they got 2 keyboard? But David Palmer was the arranger of the strings. I think the strings are so important with Jethro Tull. Adding string embellishments can be so syrupy and just turn it to mush. They're really good on those 70s Jethro Tull, really good, and that's why the live stuff is never as good because it hasn't got the string. But they actually started touring with 2 keyboard players, and I assume because of the complexity of the music, it makes it easier with 2 of them. But we'll see that. I think we'll do a commentary of some of that with the two keyboard player lineup. The band did contribute quite a bit though in writing. Apparently, he would deliberately leave the studio to leave them to come up with ideas, kind of thing. And you can certainly hear in Pibroch, cap in hand. That one took me a long time to really get into strangely. I don't know why, because it's fantastic. That's definitely a Martin Barre guitar-y thing. Which is an interesting thing to say when I've been saying about how the riffiness has disappeared, but it is a different type of noisy guitar-y thing. It's not like the noisy guitar-y thing at the start of Minstrel. And I think, supposedly Ian Anderson gave him a record of bagpipe music, and there's something in there tonally. It seems strange that you listen to bagpipes, your music will be better. It takes it in a Jeff Beck. I've never been a fan of Martin Pibroch, but I think whatever that is, that improves hugely. It stops being noisy, annoying, Hendrixiness, and I don't know. It's the Hendrix police. Shouldn't have taken his name in vain. But yeah, there's something tonally which is fantastic, and it's about the sustain. I don't even like bagpipes. I like Ulean pipes. I don't even know how to pronounce it, but that kind of stuff, the brr stuff, is really cool. And that's a good song. It actually says Jethro Tull with kitchen pros, gutter rhymes and divers. I'd never noticed that there. For years I didn't know that was there. So if we had the vinyl, I would have noticed it. If I saw the vinyl, I probably would have thought, oh, that's not on the CD. It is. And of course we have the stump, the tree stump record player. Which
is pretty cool.
Yeah. It's 5 eggs.
Yeah.
It's not even worth saying that, really. Of course it is. It's not anything else.
5 egg album. Yeah. Yeah, interesting. So we're going to do...
we are going to do our first repeat. I think it's our first, is it? Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to have another stab at an album.
Heavy Horses. Problem is now, there's pressure to make it a good review. I don't know how to do that. So I might have the same problem again. I'm really sure. Let's say sorry. Well, we'll see what happens. But it is a terrible review, so we
might as well do it. Yeah.
Heavy Horses next week.
Woohoo! We had some interesting comments on the last video, Kev. I just suddenly realised we didn't actually go through the suggestions, did we? And Jules Fletcher said, "You want ideas?"
Oh yeah.
Okay, discuss online stalking and how each of you have been personally affected.
This guy's the new Simon Perry, I think. He's brilliant. he's completely new, he's brilliant. Well, touch wood. Not really. We had one troll. Obviously, he was whatever attention seeker. Had millions of what do you call them? Ghost accounts. Fake. What do you call them?
Fake accounts. I don't know.
Yeah. It was obviously all just him having conversations with himself. But it was really early on, and there was no one hardly anyone commenting. So it's just him on his own. Yeah. And other than that. We've had some angry people, but usually I give them. I'm deliberately goading them on, so we don't really get that.
I don't think there's been any stalkers as of yet.
Yeah.
One day.
Oh yes, we're famous now.
We've got a stalker. The thing is, we don't really. I mean, this week I decided that's it. Twitter, I'm uninstalling it from my phone. Reddit, I'm uninstalling it from my phone.
It's awful. The internet is awful.
Yeah. Facebook, I've uninstalled that from my phone.
But you see, our little slice of YouTube is the nicest place in the world. The sun shines.
YouTube is the place.
It's the power of Prague.
It's weird. I've sort of completely given up interaction over the internet.
Yeah.
Because it's ultimately it's I don't know. Well, it's just empty, isn't it? It's a complete void.
Completely.
You know, you're not going to get anything from it. You're never going to convince anyone of your point of view.
Yeah. The only thing I only do. It's just it's people you don't know. People you do know, obviously, it's very useful, but people you don't know. It's the only. I've used it as a parody for the last 5 years. You know, because it doesn't do anything else.
Yeah.
There is no debate. There is no human interaction.
But given that, I mean, it makes it very difficult to stalk. You know, how are you going to stalk us?
Yeah.
I mean, you could run up a bit of a bill in stamps if you were going to. Maybe we should set up an abuse PO box. You know, you can send people to send their abuse to us.
Well, we did have a competition, didn't we? Where the best limerick. Maybe we should do another competition of the best abuse.
Yeah.
Not for this video. Stop abusing us. I didn't say that.
I wish we could get someone to sort of handle social media. We need like a social media officer.
Yeah, which is what I'm sure.
Yeah.
Whoever famous internet.
Could you imagine that? Could you imagine actually being like a proper person?
Internet person
who makes their living off that and having to deal with people on.
Well, if it's your job, it actually will be quite traumatic. It will be really annoying.
It'd be really depressing.
Yeah.
I mean, you do get nice comments onto it. I have seen nice comments, nice supportive comments, but it's just drowned out by a sea of bullshit, basically.
Yeah, and you think that how proportionate it's so different for us.
Yeah.
On our little island of normalcy.
Yeah. Quite nice, isn't it, really?
Prague is better, I told you. It's
better. He goes on, Jules Fletcher this is, serial killers seem to be quite popular these days. Hint about murders that you might have been committed as a team and get police commentary.
Well, actually, okay, this, we talked about Richard Herring before, haven't we? That he's the other one. There's a couple of these here, and the other one that's funny.
Yeah.
But he did, I think he, doesn't sound like he wrote this because it's too good, but basically he said he had a dream recently. He's about 50 or 60, I think he maybe into 50s. He had a dream when he was a kid and he murdered some girl. Like when he was about 10, he murdered a girl, and then his dad helped him bury the body on the moors. And he wasn't sure when he woke up whether did that happen. Maybe it did.
It's like a suppressed memory that you woke up. Yeah. No, I've not been involved in any murders yet.
Don't push us too far, though.
And he goes on about facial hair. Change up facial hair frequently. Do either of you have the chops for handlebar eyebrows?
No. My eyebrows are disappearing, unfortunately.
I'm not allowed a beard. I quite like a beard.
You did have a beard at one.
I did, yeah.
I had a beard when I was a teenager.
Let YouTube users man in psychoactive compounds and record your real-time reactions to increasingly larger doses of them. I read something quite interesting about this, actually.
All right, okay.
It was an experiment about what actually happens with LS. Yeah. No, not LSD. What's the one? It's psilocybin. One in magic mushrooms, yeah. And because there's a correlation between what people get through deep meditation and what people get through
taking drugs,
taking psilocybin. And basically, this guy they did and it was a proper experiment. This guy who conducted it was he was the first person in 15 years or something like that to be granted permission to do such experiments in the US because he had pretty solid rep. And he found out that something does happen, and it's sort of like to do with smashing the ego and stuff like that, and it gets you seeing things in a different way, and it is sort of like the shortcut to doing deep meditation. And what they did is they got people in to they get it 3 times, and they give them different dosages each time to see what the effect was, and it can be a really sort of apparently they give people who are trying to stop smoking. Yeah, this was an experiment done in the 60s. I think it was the 60s. People trying to give up smoking. Yeah. The rate of success for those who were given psychoactive drugs was like 80% or something like that.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was really, really high.
But didn't they need to keep taking psychoactive drugs?
Well, apparently the effect does wear off, but it's more like a learning experience. It shows you...
It reprograms your brain.
It sort of reprograms your brain, and it sort of gives you an experience of yourself without ego, and how it makes you view yourself in a slightly different way.
It's just about breaking habit, isn't it?
Yeah, so you have it does sort of give you a different perspective from which you see yourself, and it helps you shape your interactions with people and stuff like that. So I think it'd be a good idea if people mailed in psychoactive substances. I'd quite like to get rid of my ego for a few hours.
Sounds nice.
And see what's going on.
Yeah. Don't really though.
Try exotic foods on the air. Can you source koi? I don't know what that is. In Wenton.
Probably. We'll probably get anything done.
Interview violent anarchists. Well, I am a violent anarchist, so...
I'm a non-violent anarchist.
I've just noticed. Cheers. Mark. That's our new Patreon.
Right. Right, yeah.
His name's actually Jules Fletcher. Okay, thanks for becoming a Patreon. Yeah, and thanks for the cool comments. Mm-hmm. He also said, I don't know what it is, but you kids have it. Call me Mucho Cross.
So is that the mark that sold me the thing? Let me know.
Yeah. How come you haven't been to see John Bonham's statue yet, Kev?
That's really strange. I don't know. I've actually been to town. I live in Redditch, right? I've given away where I live. And I've been to town. It was weird that because I came from the opposite direction because I've been somewhere else, I didn't go past it. Normally I'll go past it. You know, you get off and you go past car park 7 and you go around and down to car park 1, don't you? So you would drive past it, and I've not. It's really strange.
Yeah, I haven't been into Redditch Town Centre.
Yeah. But I mean, well, you don't actually live in Redditch, so you know. You think Led Zeppelin fans all over the world will be like, what? You live in Redditch and you haven't bothered to go and see it. It's not actually John Bonham, is it? If it was actually him playing there, yes, I will go and see it. Yeah. It's only a statue.
We'll go there one day.
Yeah.
Apparently the football match starts soon. I was going to do a book review.
Yeah. A book review?
Yeah, I thought, well, we've been trying to get into doing politics stuff and we've failed. I thought I've been reading a few politics books lately, so I thought I'd review a politics book for you and see if I could get you interested.
Cool, okay.
And see how that goes. And I haven't rehearsed this or anything like that. I've basically drawn a few lines on a page. What I'm going to do is Out of the Wreckage by Georges Monbiot. Do you know who Georges Monbiot is, Kev?
I know the name, but I don't know the name.
So basically he's a Guardian, well, you would know him as a Guardian columnist. Yeah. He's a bit of a lefty, but I think he defines himself more by his environmentalism than his political stances.
Yeah, I imagine he gets a lot of criticism for that, for the environmental position. That's probably quite rational.
Yeah, he comes across as extremely rational, actually. I mean, he's written some other things which I've sort of gone to, and one of them which was feral, which is where my interest in rewilding came from.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and beavers.
Yeah.
Bloody love beavers at the moment. They're a keystone species.
I couldn't do that. Last time I managed, this time I failed. I'm sorry. I apologise to the internet. Sorry.
But yeah, he's interesting. He does get a bit of a stick. He gets a bit of stick from environmentalists as well because he's pretty pro-nuclear.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean he's pro-nuclear in the sense that, well, I guess
I am as well, actually, yeah.
it just it's a non-carbon forming source of energy sort of thing.
But once we get fusion, sort of.
Yeah. So
it's in between. Really.
So he's not. He's recently, unfortunately, had a diagnosis of prostate cancer and has gone through treatment for it, and he seems to be getting better. So he needs a bit of a pick me up. So it's all right. Wenton's got you covered. We're going to review your book. So basically, the thesis of the story is we're at a point of profound change, and we've been through a couple of these in the last century, and it's been largely characterised as neoliberalism versus social democracy, Keynesianism.
Yes, and what's happened there? Yeah,
and we're at the next point now. Neoliberalism has failed, but we're kind of scrabbling around for the next thing. And what he's saying is the important thing is not the ideas, because the ideas are there. And he goes through quite a few of these ideas in this book. The problem is the story's not there. And basically, the way Keynesianism or social democracy and neoliberalism came about was essentially they told the same story. It was like a rebirth story, basically. And if you've ever read The Golden Bough, you'll know all about rebirth myths and renewal myths. He says what we need is a story for our times, and it's at the end he sort of constructs a story that we need to tell ourselves to move on to the next thing, but he spends the book sort of outlining the problems we're having, why neoliberalism and Keynesianism. I mean, he acknowledges that Keynesianism isn't the solution to anything because we're in a very different world now than we found ourselves when Keynes was trying to put the world back together after the war. And he started saying, he's going through some of the ideas that have come out, and so one of the key things is the rebalancing of the economy. So the economy is generally split up between the public and the private sector, and obviously we've had the thrust of neoliberalism is shifting everything onto the private sector. And he's saying, actually, no, what you need is a balanced economy between the four sectors, which are public, private, household, and the commons. And he talks about what the commons gives us, and what it can help, and what people are doing around the world and stuff like that. So there's some really good ideas in there. I mean, it's stuff that will blow you away. There are moments of absolute terror when he confronts you with some of the environmental facts of what's happening in the world. So just one of them, I think I might have given it before in one of our videos, is soil degradation. People talk about greenhouse gases and stuff like that, and the melting ice. But, I mean, that kind of pales into significance of the degradation of our topsoil, which we use to grow food. Basically, the topsoil goes, we go, and the UN has estimated we've got, at the current rate of degradation, we've got about 60 years left of topsoil. You put that into perspective, it's like shit. Yeah.
And you have to remember, that whatever those facts are, all that information we've got, all those scientists, doesn't matter, because it's not how I feel. What's more important is how I feel. I don't want that to be true. So therefore, random zealous politics.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting that it is a perspective thing he's talking about. He goes, okay, we've got this problem. We never hear about it. Okay, fair enough. But even the way we frame it is, in the UK, we reckon we lose about £1 billion worth of topsoil a year. But the fact that you're putting a monetary value on this, so it's almost as if, well, it's all right if I grow the economy by £1 billion a year, I'm offsetting the losing the soil.
It's actually there that we kind of need.
Yeah. So, but it all go. I think the actual the UK, it's estimated there's about 100 years left, because we do have sort of better crop rotation and stuff like that. But even so, once that's gone, we're gone. You put 100 billion aside, that's not going to make that not happen. So there needs to be a fundamental shift, and that's sort of what it is. It's not a very thick book, which is great, because some of these political books can get into behemoths that you spend weeks and weeks and weeks poring over.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's so short.
Yeah.
You have to remember, I don't buy hardback books. I've got to wait for the softback to come out.
Yeah.
In a year's time.
But essentially, it's a book of solutions.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah. And he sort of finishes with the story that we need to sort of be telling ourselves to get us shifting over to a new, more balanced sort of economy.
I mean, there is an argument that all this mad crap happening is because the alternative ideology, what used to be the other side of the argument, has failed so spectacularly. There's this push for something else. No, not doing that. Random things. Is that a deliberate thing? We're going to replace this quick.
No, the problem is, he points out that the sort of the neoliberals were ready to take it. They were when Keynesian failed. The Keynesian economics failed, and they did fail pretty spectacularly. I mean, we had a situation where, they talk about the power strikes and stuff like that.
Yeah, the three-day week.
Yeah, the 3-day week.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems...
And it was born out of a situation where people who weren't very good at their jobs could get sacked and then go to another job on even higher pay.
Yes.
So there was a bit of a disconnect there.
Yeah.
But the neoliberals were waiting. The Chicago school Hayek, the story he was telling them, they were waiting, and they had a story ready to go and roll out as soon as the opportunity presents itself. Now, there hasn't been that story sitting in the wings.
Yes.
Ready to roll out when the financial crisis hit or whatever.
Completely convinced.
The myriad of crises.
The end of history, remember that?
Yeah.
Before 9/11. That was mad.
Yeah. So, I would definitely recommend this to you, Kev. I mean, it is basically a book of framing where we're at, what the possible solutions are, and how we get there in quite a narrow read. You will sort of want to go away and I would say investigate further after reading this, which in that sense I think is a great success. Yeah, I think this is a great book. This is definitely one for your shelf. Have I convinced you that you need to read this, Kev?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we'll search for the paperback.
Well, you can borrow this if you want. I've finished.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes it easy. Good. I'm not going to give him money though. I just get it for free. There you go. I've broken capitalism.
Yeah. Let us know. Well, I don't know.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
But generally, when we do the politics, and we say, "Oh, we don't talk about politics," then we talk about politics, then we say, "We should really talk about politics." Nobody comments. Everything, no one says anything.
Well, I was just going to say, do you think we should? Well, let's see how it turns out.
We'll put this on the end of the video.
Yeah.
But I think we should put this on our politics channel as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah, and I'll do a few of them because I've been reading quite a few lately. I've been getting through. I've decided I'm going to change things. I'm reading. Basically, I've got 3 books on the go at once, and I read at least for half an hour each book every day.
All right.
And because I've got all these books and I never ever go through them, but I've been doing quite well recently. I've got through quite a few books, so there's quite a few things I can review.
I read sort of 10 minutes a day.
I bet you don't, Kev. What you're not including is the stuff you're reading on the internet.
Oh yeah, all the crap. But that's not reading, is it? That's just crap.
That is crap.
Yeah.
But if you stop that reading, yeah. I think about it. Yeah, if you read an hour a day, that's 7 hours a week.
You have to remember, I'm doing that at work. I can't really get away with bringing a book.
Yeah, but I'm saying at night, I'm doing it rather than watching TV, I suppose. And it's only half an hour. I mean, there'll be a work-based book, so I'll spend half an hour reading that during work.
Right, yeah.
There's a book like that, policy, and then there's like something I read on the night. So
yeah, I mean, the time just isn't there for me. Unless I rearrange my life.
But think about this, though, Kev. Yeah, this is what got me to it. If you read an hour a day, yeah, that's 7 hours a week.
Yeah.
52 weeks a year. What's that? 752s, 350 odd.
360 something.
Let's do that. 52 times 7, 364 divided by 40. That's an extra 9 weeks a year, working weeks a year. Mm-hmm. You can spend reading stuff.
9 weeks of reading
stuff that you want to read.
Yeah.
It's amazing. You think about it. Definitely do it.
I'll rather scroll down Facebook, just keep scrolling. Nothing.
There's nothing taken.
Nothing. Something about football. Nothing.
Right then, we were going to do a voiceover thing, weren't we? But I think we've run out of time.
Football started in 2 minutes. So Sam's going to watch the football. I'm not.
Can't believe. Well, you could do some reading. Half an hour.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.